nowadays, and so
The TTPS is on now. It's Monday morning. Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. This morning, we have Inspector Gersha Grant joining us on set representing the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Good morning to you, Inspector.
Good morning, Rokas. Good morning, Natasha.
How are we doing this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. And you guys?
A week.
Good, yeah.
It's a good place to start.
That is definitely. And dry, as we mentioned earlier, because of the rain yesterday, of course.
Yesterday was a lot of wet. The weather was a little bit rough.
It was.
So, Inspector, tomorrow is International Men's Day, and I understand that the TTPS is doing special things for the men of the police service. Tell us a little bit.
Okay, well, tomorrow, as November the 19th, is celebrated Internationally Men's Day. So at the TTPS, we observe and we want to celebrate our men. We know our men have gone through, they face a lot of challenges on the workplace, at home, because, previously our men are seen, or they are supposed to be seen as our providers, our protectors. And we want to take away the toxic masculinity part of men. So we want to invite men to raise awareness to mental health, mental issues, that we need to do this screening, because we realize that our men also face challenges that women face, and we want to bring that awareness to our men in TTPS, encourage them to have health screenings and so forth.
So, as you mentioned, the health screenings and the focus on mental health, which of course is so critical. I have to admit, though, as a woman commenting on it, I feel like I do have to, just sort of step back a little bit and give that space as is needed. However, one of the things I will ask is that in recognition of International Men's Day particularly, you mentioned the screening. Is it that you're going to be having some sort of fair, some sort of communication, or maybe fanfare? Because, I mean, the men deserve to be celebrated.
Yes, we celebrate our men in little pockets in the TTPS. Ruckus is laughing. However, in places that we work, the women, we try to come together and we try to celebrate the men, know that they are important to us. And we understand that they go through, like when women, we go through our menopause, and the men will go through their andropause. And they have different, Natasha, yes. So we have different levels in these different, so we want to encourage men, and tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., we are having a symposium called Men Health Champions, where we are encouraging our officers to come in, and we are going to have the health screenings. We're also going to have important prostate tests, prostate screenings. We are not going to do the physical screening, but we're going to do the blood tests, because we know some men shy away from going to do these physical screenings. So we are encouraging the men. We're going to have diabetes testings, cholesterol, and we're going to have symposiums where our police doctor, Dr. Francis, she's going to have talks with them about some of the other issues that men face, emotionally, and probably the erectile dysfunction, and as we go through and we age, all the pressures of the workplace and other pressures come down on the men. So
well, I wanted to ask about some of the challenges you mentioned. Men face challenges when it comes to workplace and society in general. Do you have can you give me some examples of some of those challenges?
The same challenges that women face. We have homelessness, we have substance abuse, we also have, where men feel that they are not the providers and they feel suicidal. When we look at some of the statistics, we also have men resorting to violence. That's a way that they may react to some of the pressures that they are facing. So as the TTPS, we also partner with other NGOs, although we know we have officers, or we may have other men, not officers only, who may be incarcerated. We reach out to them, we try to facilitate some rehabilitation efforts, and so that they could be reintegrated to understand that the important role that men play in society. And we're looking for that to have an overall impact on the reduction of crime, where we could have positive role models for our men and for our boys and for our sisters and mothers and so forth.
Something that is very important. I mean, you mentioning the role model, of course, and that role of provider, and what we've seen is, I guess, an evolution in society over the years. But something really more out of interest, when it comes to the composition of the TTPS, is it largely male?
Yes, the TTPS, they would have a strength, as we call it, it's more or less a male-dominated organization. However, we have women, and we welcome the men, because there's a good balance, balance for us to coexist and for us to operate and work together as colleagues and as partners. And we not only in the workplace, as you said, but as family, fathers, we need to have these two parental homes, that way we could have proper role models for our kids, our society leaders, mentors, and so forth. Yes. So in the TTPS, we also have a larger male
Now,
presence.
Inspector, and I want to get back to inside the TTPS itself because I know that, I mean, you guys go through a very rigorous training regime when it comes to being recruited into the TTPS before you even get to say that you're a police officer. You would have gone through intensive training, right?
Yes.
And sometimes that can have a traumatic effect on you in terms of how you respond to certain things. Is there enough mental health support inside the TTPS for men who go through A, that training regime, and then B, instances in live situations where we have, be it combat, be it weapons drawn kind of situation? Do we have mental support in place for men in that situation?
Yes, in the TTPS we also have a social working department where we do referrals. However, men, it's an open door policy and persons can go to seek assistance. So this is part of the awareness.
But
where
how
we want
many
to
men take up that open door policy?
We have a few men. I have where I work in present. I have 2 men who actually go on a regular basis,
Okay.
and they seek counselling. They seek
And have they found that it helps?
Yes, it helps. It's personal and it's confidential because
of
we want
course.
to maintain that level so that the men have a safe space where they can express themselves. So
Right.
yes, it is, and you will see an improvement in some of their behaviors and the way they react to certain things. We want to encourage and to foster emotionally intelligent men, So yes, we have that is an open door policy. It's also done by referrals. If as a supervisor, I would recognize that the behavior in one of my subordinates may have changed or have gone down a particular path. Yes, I may be able to recommend them to see the social worker. We also have officers who might have been victims. And we also have the victim and support unit in the TTPS, which they do a tremendous job in sort of helping you and being the crutch throughout some of these traumatic experiences that they may experience.
Inspector, just pinning off of what Raucus would have said with the fact that there's so much preparation that goes in before you can call yourself a police officer. We know recruiting happens, of course, from the legally adult age. Would you see, in your experience, just seeing those recruits come in, and then, of course, eventually become police officers, that the training that is received is something that trickles down into personal life and perhaps provides more stability?
Yes, the training, we have different modules and different aspects, and we are also incorporating now the more softer side of policing, as I said before, the emotionally intelligent individual. And you see them as leaders, because I often tell my subordinates that from the time you put this police uniform on, you are seen or you are held to a higher standard. So yes, the training, it helps to exemplify when they see the other officers or senior officers to them, exemplify to them, and it is portrayed in their personal lives. We're dealing with children, dealing with members of the public. Some of them may not be fathers, but we have, the police youth clubs that the police officers become mentors and role models, and we see that their behavior, because they are interacting on and off the workplace, because more or less some of these interactions are done outside of the workplace. So yes, it trickles down to their personal
Okay. Inspector, I want to say thank you to the TTPS for doing this work, because I think it's very, very important that we place a spotlight on the men and things like mental health issues, our challenges, and like you said, the emotional intelligence of men. I think it's really, really important, especially in the workplace like the TTPS, because dealing with people on a daily basis means that you're going to have to be able to respond accordingly and respond in the most appropriate manner, which sometimes, if we're being honest, people have had many complaints about that when it comes to dealing with the TTPS over the years. So I really hope that this change and this putting the spotlight on it is able to have a positive impact on society in general. So let me say thank you very much for joining us this morning, and I want you to do me a favor and look into that camera over there, and I want you to tell the men of Trinidad and Tobago whatever you want to tell them for International Men's Day.
I want to tell the men of Trinidad and Tobago, happy International Men's Day, and that you all play a very pivotal role in our society. Without the men, the women, or us, we wouldn't be able to procreate and to reproduce and to create strong individuals for our future generations to come.
Well,
thank you.
And thank you, Inspector, for joining us this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure, and all the best to all of you as you continue to celebrate International Men's Day every
Thank you.
Day.
And happy International Men's
But
Day.
thank you, Inspector.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Inspector Geisha Grant from the TTPS joining us this morning to speak about International Men's Day happening tomorrow. So if you didn't know, now you know. Make sure that you are prepared. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this break for birthdays.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Oh.